And a good Wednesday night, everyone. Thanks for joining for this Tropics After Dark, sponsored by EC Malone Roofing Services. They're here with us again for another season. We appreciate our sponsors, and again, visit their website if you have a chance. So, once again, we always appreciate them, and thanks again, Malone. Let's take a look at what we're watching tonight. Obviously, we know it's what is tropical depression Fred right now. It's weakened, of course. We talked about this in the last couple of nights, that once it moved over Hispaniola, Dominican Republic there, we were going to see this thing get disrupted a little bit. Now, remember, it wasn't very well developed, going into the island, so there wasn't really much that it could disrupt, right? I was talking yesterday that, this is a well-formed hurricane going into the island, then we'd see this thing start to fall apart. So there really wasn't much going over the island anyway, but right now, obviously, we're not really seeing much. In fact, if you were looking at this, you'd say, looks like this thing's moving like to the southwest or something right now, right? A lot of those storms kind of working like an outflow that you see during the summer around here, where you got storms that are kind of forming and flowing to the south a little bit, but the center is not moving south. The National Hurricane Center says it's still going to the west-northwest right now. But this is that big time in the period that I was talking about yesterday or the day before, where things can kind of shake up a little bit, right? Obviously, the center is getting disrupted a little bit. Do we see a relocation of the center once it comes off the island? What's going to happen in the next 12 to 24 hours or so? Because it's going to be key in the eventual forecast as well, because the models are still struggling. If you're following the page I posted tonight, they're all over the place right now. I mean, they still look like they're centering along the Florida Panhandle, but they have had some that have shifted a little bit more to the west, and I'll talk about why that's happening in just a second. So how you doing, everyone, tonight? Thanks for joining. Raymond, good to see you on here. Thank you for watching. Angel, yes, we do need to get that random monster under control. That was some unfortunate placement. Trust me, it wasn't on purpose, right? We got to watch from him. How you doing, Jennifer from West Wego? Evening, Priscilla. Good to see you on here. How you doing, Margaret from Mid-City? Annie from Covington. Eric, good to see you on here. What's up? Metry, Priscilla says. How you doing, Veronica? Good to see you on here. Lake Charles, Brooke, watching this closely. Sally, thank you once again. Appreciate that. So that's a look at Fred right now. Again, downgraded to a tropical depression for the near term. It'll stay pretty weak. The big picture here, or around Hispaniola, we're seeing a lot of those storms that are forming still, and some rainfall, happening around that area. And as it moves to the west-northwest, back over water tomorrow, we'll have to see what the condition looks like. But there's a look currently at the system. Now, one thing you're noticing, a lot of this dry air behind it here, but in front of it, we do have this upper level low. You can see a spin here. That's a low. That's going to cause some of this shear from this direction. But as far as dry air goes, not much in the way in this path that it's about to go in. So maybe dry air won't be as much of an issue moving forward, but that shear could be an issue if it does get close to that upper low. So we'll continue to watch that. Again, the model's not very aggressive with this city. How you doing, Casey from Bro Bridge? Good to see you on here, man. And Gwendolyn, thank you as well for joining. So let's take a look at the current National Hurricane Center track. I was a little surprised that it didn't shift a little bit, not much, but a nudge west maybe for the 10 p.m. It really doesn't look like it did. In fact, it may have shifted back to the east, which is confusing a little bit, because a lot of the models in the evening and the overnight runs did have a few more, a little bit more to the west. Now, this is a look at kind of the model suite that they use to kind of make that forecast. And this, you see this OFCI, this black one here, that's the official National Hurricane Center track, right? That it means official, right? This black one coming in here. So notice, this is their official track. A lot of these, ensemble members are west of their official track. So I'm not saying that it's going to shift to the west. It's just interesting that they really didn't, I guess, I don't know, the word is maybe respect or take some of these models serious that are over to the west right now. They did say that is that the H wharf? I can't see what that says. The one by the purple one. Anyway, this one right here. They did kind of say that the only reason that one's going in that direction is that would be an open wave, not well developed at all, and just something drifting in that direction to drop a little bit of rainfall. But they mentioned in their discussion that they don't think that's going to happen. They do think this is going to stay with a low-level center. It's going to stay, somewhat organized and be, come back to tropical storm strength. And so they discounted that purple one there. In case you're wondering, I know a lot of y'all mentioned there's always one around New Orleans. It does seem like that. But this one, they kind of just said, nah, we're not listening to that one. So the official track still does come somewhere around here, but a lot of these ensembles, something to keep in mind. Remember I said last night, you look for trends east or west. I think it, I mean, the official track didn't go back west today, but a lot of the models were in that direction. So we'll go with the official track, right? We don't want to ever go against the National Hurricane Center and what they're saying. So, I know sometimes I question things, but this is the official track of the National Hurricane Center tonight. So let's take a look at what they're thinking. They do keep this as a depression into tomorrow evening. And then they say, once it's back over water, it is going to get back over water overnight and might stay over water if it stays north of Cuba. Now, if it goes over the island of Cuba and stays over the island, that's going to disrupt it a bit, quite a bit, right? And then, if it does stay over Cuba, then it might not emerge until we get into Saturday morning. But they're saying it's going to emerge tomorrow morning and may stay north, and then it would have water all the way to the, to the Gulf Coast. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this evolves because, again, the waters are very warm. Water temperatures, here they are, not an issue. Where it is right now, we're looking at actually not as warm where it is currently as to where it's going. When it comes in the Gulf, it's actually going to be a bit warmer. So we're looking at temperatures, in this area, very warm, 85 to 88 degrees. So like I think I was mentioning that yesterday, water temperatures won't be the issue. They're plenty warm enough, for this thing to strengthen. So we got to see what the upper level winds are going to look like as it gets in this area. We got to see what it looks like as far as presentation goes. But once it gets in, if it does take a track somewhere like this and come up, maybe a little bit more to the west, we'll have to see. The water is very warm in this area. So, there is also a scenario where it might actually hug the Florida coastline and might go up the peninsula, something like this. In that case, it would cause some nasty weather around Florida, but it wouldn't be able to strengthen much because it wouldn't be over water. May not be the worst track, right? And then there's you can go this far to the east as well and kind of hook this way. Those tracks right now, especially this one way to the east, not really a likely scenario. And, the one way this way is not a likely scenario either. We're probably going to end up somewhere in here. Just a matter of where that's going to actually end up. But like I mentioned the other day, the cone is the cone. And it stretches all the way west of Mobile and all the way east over here, east of Jacksonville. So got to keep watching it in these areas because not officially out of the woods in these areas, although those scenarios are outliers. Now, there's a look at some of the modeling here in a pretty bright, vibrant rainbow colors. And you can put in the official track here and notice that, it is, like I was telling you, it is kind of east of where some of the modeling is located. But, zooming in a little bit, I like to get a little bit more detailed. This is a little bit easier sometimes to see rather than their forecast. It's just the cone. But we can zoom in a little bit on this. And, even east of Apalachicola there is where they have the center line currently. Coming in Crawfordville, and then kind of just west of Tallahassee there. So we'll see, so remember that, but when we're tracking this tomorrow and going into tomorrow night, tonight, it's kind of coming just west of Tallahassee. So somebody write this down for me. Tonight, we're looking just west of Tallahassee, and then tomorrow night, we'll see the trends, and that's what I like to look for. Where's that center line going? Is it going more west? Is it going more east? We'll take a look at tomorrow as the new cones come out. We'll have a 4 a.m., a 10 a.m., a 4 p.m., a 10 p.m. So by the time we get into tomorrow night, we would have been in 4 new cones. So let's see. I can almost bet you that it won't be just west of Tallahassee tomorrow night when we're looking at this. Maybe it will, but if I had to say that, I bet you we're going to get some movement going into tomorrow, and as we go into the next couple of days, things become a bit clearer with this thing as you get a little bit closer to landfall. So we'll start tightening up the cone and start fine tuning this forecast a little bit. So that's something to consider here. All right, so I have a big kid in Miami. Is that area almost a sure thing? Crystal, yeah. I mean, look, here's the thing. Even if it does take a track that it's on right now, this is what the National Hurricane Center is thinking. This, it would be maybe 45 miles per hour at this point right here on the 14th. When is that? Is that that's Saturday morning? And, at this point, if it is 45, Miami would be on the east side. I'm sure they'll get some squally weather, but I can promise you folks in Miami, are not really concerned with this one. This is not the one that they're concerned with. Sure, they'll get some squally conditions, some rainfall, and some gusty winds, but this is not shouldn't be a big issue for the Miami area because it just doesn't look like it's going to have enough time to really strengthen in this area. Now, if it goes a little bit more west into this Gulf here, then yeah, you could get a little bit more strengthening. So, is a Cat 1 hurricane on the table still? Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's on the table. I don't think it would be in the likely scenario at this point, but it certainly is a scenario that could still happen because we could have a tropical storm in the Gulf for a little while. That's very warm. So take a look here at the GFS and notice as we go forward here, so you see that open wave coming north of Cuba there, and then it's really not strong at all. And we get back into the Saturday night, and then something starts to kind of develop. But look at the, the GFS is just really, it's glitching right now is what's happening. See if I can even pull that back up. There we go. So notice what happens with this model. So you see it kind of hugs the coast, and then we're talking about 1,008 millibar tropical something there. I mean that is not that big of a deal if it does stay that weak. So we hope that happens, that it doesn't get much stronger than what the GFS is indicating. And even the Euro model keeps it just south of Florida and then kind of hugging the coastline up to the north. There comes what could be Grace there in a very same type of track here as it moves in going into next week, and then maybe a hook to the east coast of Florida. But again, that's hard to say right now, with this thing. So something to keep in mind there, moving forward here. This is the official track, and this is what we'll continue to follow. So I would say at this point, as we look at this and zoom it in, I would say anywhere over here from Fort Walton, Panama, Apalachicola, and then even down here in Cedar Key, and then up in Tallahassee as well. All of these areas are kind of in, I would say, probably the most likely chance of getting closest to the center here. But if we do see models continuing to push, a little bit more to the west, then obviously the areas toward, Fort Walton, Panama would become more of a concern there. But the big thing remains is what type of storm are we going to be looking at? I mean, if it's a 30 or 40 mile per hour tropical storm, it's not going to be a big deal. I mean, we get thunderstorms during the summer that can produce higher winds than that. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of water rise with that, but I'm telling you, y'all know, folks around the Gulf Coast, we're pretty seasoned veterans of this kind of stuff. We don't really get concerned over a 30, 40 mile per hour tropical storm unless it stalls and then you get a bunch of rainfall, but that is not expected with this one. So again, that's going to remain the biggest variable, I'd say, is just what are we going to be looking at? Is this going to be a hurricane? Is it going to be a strong tropical storm? Or is it just going to be weak? They are putting it at 60 miles per hour with gusts to 70 on the 15th at 7 p.m. at this mark. That's the Sunday, I believe. Yeah, so 60 mile per hour tropical storm with 70 mile per hour gusts, that's a little bit stronger, than a 40. So, yeah. So we'll see if that does play out, but obviously, that's what the National Hurricane Center is thinking right now. But remember, always give or take 10 or 15 miles per hour, that would put it close to Category 1 hurricane. So that's why I was saying it's certainly possible that we could see that. All right, let's see here. What type of, any questions here? Let's see. Watching from Irvington, Alabama. Thanks, Terry, for joining. How you doing, Vanessa? Angel said that purple line's got to go. Talk about the models. Yeah, the one coming right from New Orleans. There's always one. Let's see. Never say never. Ginger, thank you. I appreciate that. Good evening, Darren from Niceville, Florida. Got to keep an eye on this one, certainly around that area. In the cone. Anytime you're in the cone, right? The cone of uncertainty. Wait till it gets between Cuba and the Keys, Cindy says. Yeah, that's when we'll know a lot more, right? When it's squeezing between Cuba and Florida there, through the Florida Straits, certainly. Let's see. Feel like it's going to go more west, Cindy says. Certainly possible. Okay, cool. Not a big Miami evacuation. No, they're not gonna. It would take a lot to evacuate Miami. Logistically, that's tough as it is. They won't do it for this, I can promise you. JJ, how you doing tonight? I'm glad you can keep up storms. Live in the Gulf and the Atlantic coast. Yep, Raymond, no problem. Appreciate it. Cole says it will be a hurricane at landfall. Certainly a possibility. I wouldn't say it's a likelihood, but you know, it's certainly there. That could happen, especially if it goes a little bit more to the west off the coast of Florida there. If it hugs the coast of Florida, it might have trouble. But if it goes a little bit wider out into the Gulf and really is able to maybe blossom out a little bit and, you know, not so close to land, then I would say any more west there, if it gets off the coast, would have a chance to maybe strengthen a little bit more. But again, that remains to be seen. Spencer, shout out from offshore. Thank you for watching, Spencer. Appreciate you on here. So yeah, that's the latest on what is tropical depression tropical depression number Fred. Tropical depression Fred tonight. On the Hispaniola here, south and west of Dominican Republic and Haiti currently. Of course, it's been over land today. Doesn't look impressive right now on satellite. Not expecting it to for a little while. It's getting all ravaged by the mountainous terrain there. So, that's where it is right now. It will emerge back over water probably tomorrow morning and afternoon. We'll see if it's able to develop at all tomorrow, but I got to be honest, the modeling does not say that that's going to happen at a quick pace, which is good. I think we're probably going to have to wait until it gets between Florida and Cuba and maybe back to the Gulf before we see this thing strengthening a little bit. The good news is that it won't have too long in the Gulf to work. You know, it's not going to have a long time. So, again, it's a wait-and-see type of game. But anywhere on the Florida panhandle at this point, there's your official track. Landfall time looks like it's going to be Sunday night into early on Monday morning. So, keep an eye on this. On the Gulf Coast here. Number Fred here first, JJ. You never know what you're going to hear. Keep an eye on this. I'll continue to keep y'all posted on the page. It does. It is too soon, Crystal. That usually happens around the probably, you know, at least in September that starts to happen. I called some things. Sally was called salty last year. Oh, I had some mistakes. So there you go. All right. So there's a look at the latest on Fred. And I'll continue to keep y'all posted on the page. Thank y'all for joining for this Tropics After Dark tonight. Stay with the page. Share this video if you'd like to. Otherwise, I'll probably see y'all tomorrow. And thank you to EC Malone sponsoring these videos. Really appreciate them as well. Stay with the page and stay safe, everyone. I will see you on these updates coming up for the rest.